But just to explain to people what we're here for, we're basically here to reissue the downtown comprehensive land use plan. We did this about 10, 12 years ago. I was involved with that process. It's a very interesting process, but it's more than just a lot of conversation and a lot of planning activity. The results of the downtown land use plan are basically enshrined in the city zoning code. So they have real impact on the way the city will make zoning changes to permit certain types of developments to occur, perhaps not permit certain types of developments to occur based on the input of the land use plan. Land use plan will also identify catalytic projects as it did 12 years ago. Most of those catalytic projects have actually been completed. So the catalytic project list does provide a roadmap for the future investment of city funds, for the way we encourage developers to operate in the central business district. And so this is a very important activity because it does reflect how the citizens and stakeholders in downtown Milwaukee want to see the downtown evolve, improve, and grow. So thanks for your participation. I'll be very interested to see the results. And I know there'll be more opportunities to participate down the road. Ultimately, this goes to a public hearing before the Plan Commission, and then before the zoning committee of the Common Council, and then ultimately the Common Council votes on this plan. So it does have a lot of importance and significance. So once again, thanks for participating and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Alderman Bauman. Just quick introduction of myself. I'm Lafayette Crump. I am Commissioner of City Development for the City of Milwaukee, and just really want to echo Alderman Bauman's comments about how appreciative we are that all of you are here this evening. Great to have this kind of turnout with all of you participating in, it's really important planning effort where we envision what the heart of our city is going to look like and who it's for. We've got a fantastic team internally spearheading this at the department, and I love also the great external team members we've got, and again, the fact that you're all participating. We're partnering with the Downtown Bid, who you'll hear from shortly, and other groups to develop this strategic plan that's going to update the downtown plan, as the Alderman mentioned. It will really impact our city for the next 20 years and beyond, and your role, all of you, your role in this process could not be more vital. Downtown, it's the cultural and economic hub of this city, and it helps to shape the collective identity of the city and its residents. And when we have a vibrant and inclusive downtown, we are set for doing that throughout the rest of the city as well. When you look at what downtown has experienced over the last decade, the construction of a modern streetcar system, the new arena, new office and residential buildings, new hotels, renovation of historic buildings, and unique art and cultural events, all of this has impacted the identity of downtown, of the surrounding neighborhoods, and the entire city. And none of that happens without dedicated and visionary planning. So we want to continue building on the momentum we've seen over the last 10 years and more to create world-class public places, public streets, new development, all of which will help make downtown a safe, sustainable, inclusive, and memorable place that connects people to the city and to one another. So before I turn it over to a great Milwaukee champion and leader, Beth Warrick, I want to just briefly touch on our commitment to equity in this process and in general. We recognize that there are many different levels of government that have played a role in creating inequitable conditions throughout our city and really throughout our country's history. And the city of Milwaukee is committed to furthering racial and social equity through this planning process. So with that in mind, generally you like to avoid reading things that are right there on screen. Many of you are able to see this with your own eyes, but this is exceptionally important. So I'd like everyone to hear it directly from me, as one of our city representatives here on the call tonight. In planning, we must acknowledge the historical trauma of racism and discrimination inflicted on people of color, wrought by the planning profession itself, which led to structural disadvantages in housing, transportation, education, and employment that last to this day. The City of Milwaukee is committed to examining current practices and making strategic improvements to further racial and social equity. The Department of City Development has developed an implementation plan to reduce barriers to participation in the City of Milwaukee's neighborhood planning process, with an explicit focus on reducing barriers that may be disproportionately impacting residents of color and additional underrepresented groups. So know that that is going to inform everything that we do. It's right, and it's what's best for our city. So with that in mind, I'll turn it over to Beth Wyrick from the Downtown Business Improvement District, who's just a wonderful partner in this process, has been one of the city's key leaders throughout the pandemic with a focus on supporting our businesses, but most importantly, on supporting our people. Beth?
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you, Alderman Bauman. Commissioner, I'm so glad that I get to go right after that beautiful statement that you just made. When we had our first conversations with you and your team and Alderman Bauman, it was really music to my ears, and I know to everyone else, that one of the biggest things we talked about, it wasn't even the plan itself, it was the way in which we are going to endeavor on this plan in a way that has never been done before, with a focus on equity and inclusivity, and the level of commitment from our downtown property owners, from our downtown stakeholders, where they loud and clear said as part of this process, there needed to be a very intentional focus on equity and engagement. And at the same time, we were all in synchronicity on that. And all of us recognizing the importance with that intentionality to also put our money where our mouth is. And that's why the bid was happy to bring additional dollars for community activation and engagement with a focus on equity and inclusivity. For those of you who I don't know, it's such a joy to have you here. My name is Beth Wyrick, and I have truly had the honor and the pleasure of serving as the CEO of Milwaukee Downtown. We're the Downtown Business Improvement District. And we're just so happy to partner under Alderman Bauman's leadership, that of the mayor's office, and of course under the commissioner and his fabulous team at DCD. I do want to just say how thrilled I am, as Alderman Bauman had referenced. I think this is a record-breaking number of registered participants, and any update of our city's land use planning or neighborhood planning. I hope that with each future meeting, those numbers continue to grow, and as we engage with the community, that our numbers continue to grow. And our ultimate goal would be fabulous if we had representation from every zip code in the city of Milwaukee. And what leads me to that thought is, of course, for all of us who love planning, I love Jane Jacobs, and my favorite quote from Jane Jacobs, and I hope you hear this, is that cities have the capability of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they are created by everybody. So from the bottom of my heart, a sincere thank you to all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and away from your family to be here with us today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. I'd like to just go over tonight's agenda with you briefly, and then we'll get things moving. So for tonight's agenda, in part one, which you'll be hearing from our panelists to try and help you lay that foundation of our past, why we're here today, and then that process for moving forward, that engagement process, and opportunities along the way during this plan for you and for others to participate. And then Tanya had referenced earlier, there's going to be an exercise, which is a really great engagement exercise, and it's a fun interactive session. So have your devices ready for that. And don't worry, we've got Gabe available in the chat to help you if you need to walk through this process. But without further ado, I'm ready to dig in, and I hope you are too. I'll pass it over to Tanya.
Thanks, Beth. Okay, so sorry, Beth. Forgot about this one.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I get so excited. I'm like, let's get to work. But I do want to just thank you for this. Touching on really what is the purpose, of course, of the community meeting. That's everything that we talked about. We cannot develop a successful plan without everybody's involvement. So for us, we hope that we are providing you with a good baseline, a foundation of the past history, what brought us here today, and then identifying opportunities and any issues that we need to address as we move downtown forward and as we plan for what our city will look like in 2040. So as referenced earlier, if you can just share this information with your friends and your neighbors, please encourage everyone to get involved in this process. We want to hear from every single voice. You can do that through connectingmke.com, and there's a great landing page that is extremely informative for you there, and that will help you link up and get updates through newsletters, and then again also follow us on social media. So please work with us and participate with us through this entire process. It's going to be really critical. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Hi, good evening. I'm Tanya Fonseca. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager for the Department of City Development, and our team manages the city's comprehensive plan or long range plans. And this is one of the many plans that we have in the city. So really looking forward to kind of navigating this with you. These next slides kind of are just establishing what this plan does and then how this will work moving forward. So what is the plan? What is the purpose of a comprehensive plan? Well, it guides our physical, social, environmental, and economic development for the city, and it's updated approximately every 10 years. And these plans are long range, meaning that they create a roadmap for us further out. If we have a strong vision, we can then kind of better develop where we're going and have all of those action steps to get there. So in this case, it's a plan for 2040, and we update it every 10 years just to make sure that we're on track and revisit things. And of course, when big changes happen, amendments can take place too. Downtown is one of 14 areas, so all 96 square miles of the city of Milwaukee. It's a big city, so we don't just have one plan because there's just too many exciting things happening and important things happening in the city. And we want to have strong engagement that's for the community and by the community. So the city's been divided up into 14 areas. And so on the right side of the slide, you can see all of those areas, and downtown is one of those 14. So we're here updating now downtown, which is really exciting. And some of you may have participated in the past for some of either this plan or others, so you kind of know how it works, but some of you may be new to this. So we're excited you're here with us. Given that we need to kind of have area plans specific to areas of the city, it does mean we have boundaries for that area plan so that when we're creating policies and recommendations, they are specific to the geography of that area. And this is important for a lot of reasons, but we also recognize that each and every one of us tonight could draw an entirely different map of downtown Milwaukee. And that's great. But we do have to, for this plan specifically, kind of operate within these boundaries. And so the plan focuses between West Walnut Street and East Lyon to the north, West Clybourne and the Menominee River to the south, Interstate 43 to the west, and Lincoln Memorial Drive to the east. But I cannot stress enough that one of the priorities of this plan is to strengthen connections to the surrounding neighborhoods, because the greater downtown neighborhoods absolutely are part of the engine of downtown. And we want to make sure that they physically are connected, but also just connected in any way possible. So certainly we're really looking forward to all of your feedback about how we can strengthen those connections in general. So moving forward, why do we need a plan? And this is a really important question, right? Because it often seems the case that there's just a lot of plans, and why are we taking the time to do that? And I think one thing that we really want to stress is how important the process is. Not only is the plan itself highly critical, but this time together over these next 4 phases of this plan are going to be really critical. And so this really allows us to build momentum for collective action based on all of your input and feedback and participation throughout the process, so that we have new policies and recommendations to 2040 about housing and business and the economy of our city, land use, transportation, streets and public spaces, sustainability, and visionary projects for future development. I will note that there's probably some other important things that aren't on this list that you'll all be providing feedback for that we want to integrate in the plan as well. And with that, I'll turn things over to Kyle, who's going to take things away and share a little bit about the last plan.
Thanks, Tanya. I'm Kyle Gass from the Department of City Development. I'm Senior Planner of Urban Design. I've been at the department about 14 years and I've lived in the greater downtown for about 18 years. And this is me with my planning assistant, James, on our block in the East Town neighborhood. And I just want to say we're really excited about this project. And I just really want to echo the thanks and thank all of you for attending tonight, taking time to be here. The turnout is really great. And we're really excited to be launching this process. So first of all, we're not starting from scratch. This is an update to the existing 2010 plan. And this effort will build on that plan, and it'll also incorporate all the planning and engagement that has happened since that time in 2010. But a quick refresher about what was in the 2010 plan. The plan lays out some overall policy recommendations for things like streets, parks, and new development. And they're generally organized around 4 themes, and those were a distinct downtown center, a sense of place, a connected downtown, and density and intensity. And the plan then makes more location-specific recommendations for individual properties or individual streets or districts, which are really organized around these 8 districts you see in the map on the right. The plan also identified 8 catalytic projects on the next slide here. And those projects were really, those are really the kind of the big ideas, the big visionary ideas that we can collectively between departments, jurisdictions, and public and private sector kind of align ourselves together to try to accomplish these things. So these were the 8 projects from the 2010 plan that had been risen to the level of catalytic. And you'll see that a lot of them are really place-based. So we're talking about places. And a lot of these places are still important, will remain important. So you may see some of these come back again in the new plan. There's also been a substantial amount of other planning and engagement since the downtown plan was adopted. And this includes the Milwaukee Pedestrian Plan, Complete Streets Policy, dozens of other neighborhood plans, programs, initiatives, studies, and other projects that have been developed over the past decade in partnership with engaged community members. And these efforts have really allowed city staff and our partners to connect with thousands of residents and other stakeholders to listen to their needs, develop policies and strategies, and really to try to address some of our most complex problems. And we will be incorporating all of those things that we've learned along the way in this new effort. So we're not starting from scratch. One of the major efforts that has happened since the downtown plan was adopted in 2010 is MKE United. MKE United was an effort that was launched in 2015 to create a shared and inclusive vision for the greater downtown. And through extensive community engagement over several years, MKE United developed 6 transformative directions that seek to ensure the greater downtown is welcoming to all, economically vibrant, and authentically Milwaukee. So MKE United's transformative directions, and they're on the next slide, they give us a framework to develop strategies and to continue to engage about who we are, how we grow, how we connect and engage, and where we live, work, and play. And these 6 transformative directions will be the foundation of the new downtown plan update. And the recommendations of the plan will seek to move Milwaukee forward together in these directions. So we're currently just starting the process. We're really in the analysis phase, and that looks to document existing conditions, identify issues and opportunities in the downtown and greater downtown area. So reviewing past planning efforts, current and historical data, precedents, best practices. And we're also asking people about their current experience at downtown Milwaukee, what they love about downtown, what they would like to change about downtown. And based on some of our preliminary engagement and on other community engagement over the past decade, we've begun to develop this list of key strengths that really kind of differentiate us from most other places regionally and nationally. And these are things that we think we can build on. So to connect MKE and to continue to build an inclusive vision for 2040, we must acknowledge our challenges and build on our strengths. So these are just a few of the overarching themes that are emerging about what we are and what we want to be as a city. And that is, we want to build a connected MKE that is walkable, vibrant, diverse, inclusive, and resilient. And with that, I will turn it back over to Tanya.
Thanks, Kyle. So before we start talking about how to engage in the process and then actually starting to have some fun and engage more and more in the meeting, just want to touch on the project timeline. And we are in the first phase of the project, and the project generally is broken down into 4 different phases. So right now, tonight, we're at public meeting 1, and as many of you have already seen, we've got a new online virtual engagement platform as well, where we have kind of the initial tools out for a lot of feedback. But we also have other points of engagement in the process. And in particular, I'd like to highlight the Downtown Plan Community Council. For the first time, the city's piloting doing a community council for a community driven plan such as this, where we have 18 members who are serving and really focusing on equity specifically as it relates to downtown, and to ensure that equity is really integrated fully into all of our recommendations and policies. So we just are really looking forward to having that, and their feedback really kind of informing this process in addition to all of yours. So with that, I just want to kind of detail the timeline a little bit more. We'll have a second public meeting sometime in spring of next year, a third public meeting by summer. And, by that point, there will be a draft for everyone to review that will, be informed by all of your feedback. And so we just really appreciate you being here and participating already. And we hope to see you participate throughout. And then in fall, for the public meeting number 4, it will be a final draft. So it's still open for comment, but also kind of celebrating the completion of this process. And at that point, we'll really be able to talk about next steps and implementation. So with that, like to move into how to engage or ways to engage. And like I highlighted just now, there'll be 3 more public meetings, but also a really great way to stay informed of the process and opportunities to participate and provide feedback is to sign up for email updates. So if you go to www.connectingmke.com, and we will share that again later on at the end of the program, so you can be sure to sign up at the end of the night if you haven't already. That's just a great place to get on a newsletter that with regular updates about what's coming. Also, the city of Milwaukee has an e-notify system. So if you do use that or would like to use that, the URL is here, and you can sign up for updates on the downtown plan there as well. Also, we have a new online engagement platform, which we'll do a brief tour of this evening if you haven't had a chance to use it. We're really excited about it, and you'll see it being utilized for a lot of city projects now moving forward. And so we'll be sharing that shortly. And finally, we really want to make most of community programming. There's so many amazing events taking place in downtown, in the neighborhoods surrounding downtown. And we really want to engage with you there as well. Of course, we're living in midst of a pandemic right now, so that's why we're here virtually. But we do want to have some of those in-person opportunities as well, because we recognize how important they are. And just stay tuned. We don't know future plans about these public meetings and whether or not they'll be virtual or in person, but we'll make sure to keep you informed of what the plans are as things unfold. So next, want to move over to our online engagement platform. It's called Engage MKE, and I'm going to switch over our screen sharing in just a moment for us to view that and for a very brief tour, just so that everyone that's here tonight feels really confident in using it for their own comments, but also being able to review others. So just hang with me one moment, please. Okay, So it's the web URL is engagemke.com/connectingmke. And this is a separate landing page. If you go to connectingmke.com, you also will be led here. And if you follow us on social media as well, everything is linked, so things are hopefully easy to find. But this is kind of a platform for us to have engagement tools throughout. And that's absolutely critical as we move forward, because as wonderful as meetings are, they're not accessible to everybody. And so we want to try and have as many different mechanisms for everyone in the community to participate throughout the process, whether that be in person, in meetings, at events, virtually at meetings, or anytime online. So I just want to showcase this really briefly. Right now we have 2 tools up. One is a community map tool, and I did kind of accelerate down. You can always find information about upcoming meetings and where we are in the phase of the plan. But really these tools are really the probably prime reason to visit the site. So here's an example of the community map tool. Which as it's loading, I'm pleased to say we have about 644 comments on this already. So thank you so much to all of you who are already active participants. And if you haven't had a chance yet, of course, we highly encourage you to start engaging. And you know, it's a fairly easy system to use, but if you do have any issues, there is contact information on the website where we're happy to help. But it's as simple as zooming into areas that you would like to comment on, dragging, you know, any category of a comment that you would like, entering the comment, entering your email address and your zip code. What's fantastic is you also even have an option to add a photograph if you would like, of say an idea or an opportunity, you know, something from somewhere else or somewhere else in the city that you would like to highlight. I also want to draw your attention to this sidebar here on the left side of the screen. From that, you're actually able to view all the comments, in addition to clicking directly on comments on the screen, and also have the ability of clicking the Street View button. So if it's an area of the city that you're not familiar with and you would like a visual, you can click that and it'll lead you to Google Maps, where you are suddenly there in a virtual way. But this sidebar is a really great way to keep up with comments. And as you click them, it does take you in and around the downtown area where that comment is, which is great. In addition to those features, you are able to share this widely with your social networks. You can also search for a specific address if you would like to do so. And you are also able to filter comments. So if there's specific keywords that you would like to search and find comments related to, you're able to do that. And lastly, this is connected to Google Translate, and it can be translated into any languages that are offered by Google Translate, which is really fantastic. So just scooching back here, I want to highlight one other tool really briefly. And I just want to ask you to hang tight, because I know to many of you, especially those of you who have not used it, hopefully you're feeling really excited and you want to just dive right into this. I'm going to ask you to just hang tight, because we're about to move into our engagement activity this evening, but be sure to bookmark these pages and come back later tonight or anytime throughout the process. It also works really great from a cell phone. So if you're walking in and around downtown and think of an idea, you're able to comment on that directly, which I think is really fantastic. This is a second tool called an ideas wall, and it is not space specific. There isn't a map, but we are asking for comments as in regards to opportunities, strengths, aspirations, and results that you would like to see as part of the downtown plan or in downtown in general. And as you can see, there's a great number of comments here, including some with photographs of things that people would like to see happen in downtown, including this one highlighting someone's dream for our skyline. So with that, we are going to switch over to Mentimeters. So if you haven't yet, be sure to grab your phone or open an internet browser window on your personal computer or your tablet, and go to menti.com. There's also a QR code here that you can scan with the built-in camera on your phone or your tablet if you would like. So just a couple more minutes, it's menti.com. And once you're there at menti.com, please enter the following 8 digits. It's 8085-5259. And again, that's menti.com. And the code is 8085-5259. And I'm going to transition to our first question in just a moment. If you haven't had a chance to get loaded up, the top bar of the slide will give the same access information. So you will be able to catch up. And as you see, folks are already jumping in. So the first question is, what brings you here this evening? And it could be that you live in Milwaukee, you live downtown, you work downtown. Perhaps you don't know downtown very well and you're just here to learn more. So we've already got a lot of feedback here. It looks like a lot of folks love Milwaukee and are personally invested in downtown, which is really fantastic to see. Obviously, just learning about the city development plans, which I think is really great. And, you know, we're really working hard to make this process as transparent and accessible as possible. So we're really excited about new tools like this to do that. Okay, great. Working downtown, personally invested. So I'm going to start a timer, and if you haven't had a chance to answer yet, you'll have about 30 seconds remaining to do so. Again, I just want to highlight too for all of you that this is completely anonymous. It is also completely optional. So it's up to you if you would like to participate throughout the evening, but just want to put that out there. If you don't want to directly participate, please, by all means, stay tuned and just watch the feedback unfold before us. So it looks like there's a lot of very passionate people that are here tonight. So again, appreciate you all being here. All right, so that was that question. And with that, we're going to move to the next question, which is, what zip code do you live in? And we're asking this because we really just want to know, you know, who's here with us tonight, right? We expect that certainly there are going to be a lot of Milwaukeeans, but there likely are some other folks that are, you know, very passionate about the city and interested here as well. So the larger the zip code, the more representation there is. So it looks like 53202, 53211, and 53212 are very well represented for us tonight, but I'm seeing a lot of other zip codes, including some I don't even recognize, which I think is really exciting. So with that, I'm going to start a countdown timer here. And if you haven't had a chance to participate, you'll have, oh, excuse me. Oh, hang tight. Technical difficulties. Appreciate your patience. Okay. I think we'll move on to the next question. The countdown timer is not being very nice. How do you interact with downtown? And for this question, you can select multiple answers because we know that there's probably many ways that you all do interact with downtown. But we also realize, and that's another really critical thing to think about in our plan, that not everyone necessarily really does strongly identify with downtown or visit downtown. And that's okay too, but certainly, you know, we want to be mindful of that too, and making sure downtown is more accessible. So it looks like of all of the participants here, and it looks like we have 59 voters right now. Most folks interact by visiting for food, arts, culture, entertainment, and sports. 37 of the voters are here to do business, which is great. A lot also for working. Good number living as well. And then naturally traveling through is going to be a popular one as well. So with that, I think we'll move on to the next question. And that is, what is your favorite memory or experience in downtown? And it really could be anything that you immediately think of. Bucks and Six, that was a really good one for sure. And already we're seeing really a great diversity of things, highly personal, like visiting grandma, to, you know, enjoying even nature that we do have in downtown, like kayaking on the river. A lot of Bucks pride for sure and enjoyment, concerts, music, a lot of cultural events and enjoyment. Great. So far we have 45 voters. We are going to close this in a minute, so you've got about a minute to respond to this, and you can respond multiple times if you'd like. Shopping at the Grand Avenue Mall with mom as a kid, circus parade, holiday lights kickoff, that's really great. Summerfest, there it is. The Near East Side, walking, which is obviously a very popular activity in downtown, given how walkable it is. Walking from Walker's Point to downtown. Okay, so that's or to Downer, excuse me. That's a long walk. That's impressive. The Deer District, which is so exciting to see, you know, because that is a new space in our downtown. And I think just proves how important planning really is, because if it weren't for prior plans in the downtown, that space in the new arena wouldn't be a reality, because that area was a freeway. And it was due to, you know, big visions and ideas from people like you that we're now here today able to celebrate a space like that. So that's exciting. Getting married at Harbor House, widespread panic, opening a shop. So I think that that's great to see too, that no doubt we have really a diversity of attendees here, including local business community. The Pfister during a snowstorm. So really it seems like some great memories. Grand Avenue in the 90s. Okay, so that question is closed. And we'll move to the next question, which is, please share one word or a short phrase to describe your current experience of downtown Milwaukee. Comforting. Incomplete. Opportunities. Walkable. Vibrant and artsy. Lots of potential. Urban life can be more. Vacancies. Enjoyable. Pride. Dominated by cars. So certainly there's a lot of honesty in this group, and we really appreciate that. Naturally, you know, we need to work together to be real about the opportunities and challenges in our downtown and how to move forward together. So this is really fantastic. Going to start a timer for 30 seconds. So if you haven't had a chance to participate yet, please do. We've got 71 voters and counting. There are 96 of us here. So if you haven't had a chance to participate and would like to, feel free to jump in. As you can see, the larger words are words that multiple people have entered. So right now, the most common response is potential. Also, walkable is a highlight, festivals, and dominated by cars. So not to say you need to repeat those unless you really want to, but just to see kind of that there's some common themes here. Looks like there's a lot of other really great things to highlight, like the historic architecture, the fact that we could have more places to sit and enjoy our downtown, that it's really very white, and that there are some dark spots at night. So a lot of, I think, really good feedback here. So thank you. With that, we'll move to the next question, which is, what one thing would enhance your experience of downtown? Consider a change or a specific action. For this, we really are just asking for one thing, so you won't have the ability to answer multiple times. I don't believe, unless we changed it. So I apologize if I forgot, but already we're getting a lot of great feedback that it would be, more greenery, ban cars, diversity, extending the hop to UWM. And certainly we've gotten a lot of feedback that even beyond that, of course, bike infrastructure and making it more walkable, benches, better funding sources. I'm going to start a 1-minute timer. So far, we've got about 50 voters, so definitely encourage you to get those enhancements that you would like to see in. And I pressed the wrong button, so I'll give you more than 10 seconds, I promise. Oop. All right, 1 more minute. Fix the streets, more beat cops, expanded streetcars, all ages separated bike lanes, all ages and abilities, landscaping, easy transportation and available parking, fewer parking lots and unactivated street frontage. So I think we're quickly seeing together that there certainly is a diverse array of feedback. And I think some of it, there is no doubt consensus, but some things we might have, different opinions about. And that's part of this process too, is working together to navigate that and determine, what makes sense and also how we can compromise, certainly too, but still advance some really important priorities shared. More pedestrian friendly, please, diverse representation. Less expensive dining, avoiding fast food choices, more art, public restrooms. We are closed to voting, so thank you for everyone that participated in that round. I think we got a lot of really great feedback, and I just really want to underline that we will be using all of this to form policies and recommendations. When we circle back, we hope that you'll see your feedback. Our next question is, when imagining a connected MKE, what do you envision? And as I'm sure you noticed, the branding for this plan is Connecting MKE. And that was chosen for a lot of different reasons. And I think maybe your feedback that's about to unroll here will kind of show why we chose that as our branding for this planning process. More streetcars and routes. Events that encourage and support diversity. A train to Madison, an emphasis on people and places, not parking and cars, expanded streetcar and better transit, more public and open spaces to gather, better pedestrian mass transit and pedestrian infrastructure, moving around without needing an automobile. So a lot of feedback here. Looks like we've got about 25, and counting, 38 voters. So keep your ideas coming in, please. Public spaces in which everyone belongs. Neighborhoods with unique identities connected by easier transit. I think we're getting really fabulous feedback here. More kids, I love that. Safe gathering spaces, enlivened and redeveloped historic buildings. So with that, I'm going to start a 1-minute timer. It looks like 78 people have participated, but perhaps there's just some final answers. I think this is a really important thing for us to think about in Milwaukee more and more. So I appreciate your answers here. Streetcar to Brady Street, diversity and inclusivity. Electric buses, not the streetcar. It's too expensive to expand. So you'll see there's a lot of diverse opinions here, which is great. Best in class downtown bike lanes, connecting the suburbs with downtown Milwaukee. And that's, I think, I'm glad someone commented on that too, because Milwaukee is a major American city and we serve so many people in our region and beyond, including visitors, right? And so I think thinking about serving our residents here, but also everyone beyond, right? I mean, Milwaukee is an important city. And so I think this is a really important planning process too, to also think about the city's identity. I know the city's identity is more than downtown, but the downtown represents so much about the city, and we want to ensure that the downtown is representative of that and has a lot of unique, diverse opportunities that reflect Milwaukee, but also attract, wider community. So we're closing in 5 minutes or 5 seconds, excuse me. It looks like got a few more things here: more affordable housing, more connections to neighborhoods, better, safer biking and pedestrian options, more safety late at night, more diverse businesses, so more shade trees. So you can see there's really a lot of feedback and opportunities here. Really quick, just want to highlight, so we had 124 voters, which is great. This little bar down on the bottom is showing us kind of where we are. So there are a good number of more questions. So thanks for hanging with us. The next one is, when imagining a diverse, equitable, and inclusive downtown Milwaukee, what do you envision? Affordable housing options, fair rent rates, more opportunities for Black and Brown people, minority-owned businesses, the hop connecting all parts of Milwaukee. Seeing more references to affordable housing, diverse businesses, no racist cops, everyone welcome and safe, diverse business owners, which is really important. How can we make downtown more accessible to small businesses, but also medium and large, and more diverse representation of the ownership and the staff? Streets designed for people to gather, more small businesses, affordable housing and good jobs not requiring a college degree, 100% graduation rates from high schools, low-income housing at a range of levels, more home condo ownership opportunities. It's great to see a lot of notes to housing. Certainly, I think that that's an important topic in Milwaukee as we're trying to diversify our housing types and income ranges. I'm also seeing stop gentrification, help communities grow from within, which I think is a very important topic. As many of you know, the city does have an anti-displacement plan that does focus in and around downtown Milwaukee. So that's a big priority for us during this process too, to think about impact. All ages, integrated housing. It looks like we've got 94 voters and counting. So with that, I'm going to, I think, throw on a timer for 30 seconds. So if you think of another thing you'd like to enter, if you haven't had an opportunity to share some ideas, please do so. Safe space for everyone, removing slumlords, moving beyond focusing on identity, more locally owned BIPOC businesses, a downtown for everyone, more ethnic restaurants, places that all people can visit. That's a great one too. And so far we have gotten some really great feedback from all of you, including on Social Pinpoint, about wanting to see more spaces that don't require purchasing things, just being able to be downtown in space and being with one another in downtown. Equity of access to housing types, more businesses by people of color and thriving, fewer bars, African-American art and culture, affordable housing for downtown workers, lots of housing comments. This is great. A roller skating rink. So there's a lot of really great feedback here. Thank you so much. Tackling income inequality. I need to stop reading them because I think we'll never get through all the questions, but we really appreciate this, and just know we are going to be reviewing all of this in detail. Our next question is, what streets or public spaces have you found most memorable when visiting other downtowns? Please name the place. So although Milwaukee is fantastic, we know that we do always have work to do, and there's always more room for improvement, and certainly drawing inspiration from within the city, but also beyond is great. So if there are other places that you love to visit, please do highlight that, because I think it's helpful for us to think about that and be inspired by the world around us. So I think I saw Millennium Park a few times there. That's a popular one, and obviously something that gives us a lot to think about when we're thinking about public space in downtown. Bryant Park, Austin, Texas, Rainey Street and 6th Street, the Iowa City Pedestrian Mall, Pioneer Courthouse Square, Bourbon Street in New Orleans, Washington Avenue in downtown Cedarburg. So it's nice to see some of those local examples too. See a comment here of we need a Milwaukee Central Park, Nicolette Mall, State Street in Madison, which is a pedestrian street, walking historic Savannah, Georgia, the Chicago Riverwalk. So a lot of really great ideas here. This is helpful, and I hope you all feel like we are all getting a vacation out of this question, if at all possible. So with that, I'm going to give us 30 more seconds. So if you haven't had a chance to share an idea, or if you have another idea or two, please don't hesitate to jump in. Washington Avenue Transit Mall in Minneapolis, the Esplanade in Brooklyn. Let's see here. I'm waiting for some of these comments to scroll. Fiserv District was genius. Expand and remove roads. We've got a highlight of Stockholm, Sweden, the Quarter, Gamla walkable, wonderful, historic, and served by transit. The 16th Street Mall in Denver. Another reference to State Street as well as Bourbon, Bryant Park, the Maggie Daly Playground in Chicago. I've heard fabulous things. I haven't had a chance to visit. So this is great. I admittedly am not myself familiar with absolutely everything, or haven't had the opportunity certainly to visit all of these places. So this is helpful. And at the very least, if we can't go ourselves, check it out on Google Maps. The Las Vegas Strip is being highlighted as pedestrian friendly, Church Street Marketplace, Boston. So a lot of really diverse places it looks like here. With that, it looks like we had 125 voters, so that's really great. We'll move to the next question, which is, what factors would help both small and large businesses thrive in downtown, in your opinion? More affordable housing, funding, safety, less cars and more pedestrians, smaller plot sizes, incubator space, access to customers who can be aware of them, create the sidewalks people want to be on, safety, affordable rents, better public transit, pedestrian-centered streets, wider sidewalks. Seeing a comment here that I'm hoping scrolls a minute. It says more residents in a 24-hour neighborhood that isn't desolate outside of working hours. Ensuring safety and landlords that offer affordable rents. Large, well-known anchor store. Better public transit. More people, residents and employees. Walkable, ensuring safety, density, return to offices, which is an interesting topic because there's so many unknowns in the world we're living in right now. Catering to both tourists and residents, more people being workers, residents, and visitors, more and denser housing, and a better pedestrian experience. Let's see here. Clustered shopping areas, foot traffic to many businesses in a small area, less regulation, Places for people to actually sit on the street benches so people could spend a day in the downtown. Louder music, restart grants, so resources to support businesses, outreach to local businesses. Another comment about wider sidewalks. So I think we're hearing that loud and clear. Keeping later store or shop hours and keeping everyone safe. Looks like we have 116 voters so far. So I think I am going to start a timer for 30 seconds. So if you haven't had a chance or have a few other ideas, be sure to get them in. Affordable retail spaces that attract walkers, mass transit to bring people into downtown. Before this closes, I do want to highlight too that we will be doing surveys on Social Pinpoint, and some of these similar questions will be there as well. So certainly we realize that many of you would like time to chew on some of these important questions and be able to provide longer, thoughtful answers. And so you'll have that opportunity too beyond this evening, I promise. But in the meantime, this is a really effective, quick way to get a lot of feedback while we're all together. So we really appreciate you doing this. Promoting businesses, preserving historic buildings and providing affordable rents. Corporate franchises destroy the culture and distinctiveness of downtowns across America, making downtown more livable, listening to businesses. And that's, I think a really important part of this planning process in general is listening and really taking that time to do that. So with that, I think we will move to the next question, given that we're closed. The next question is, what should be implemented downtown to make it more attractive to visitors? And this could be really anything. It could be a physical improvement. This could be a program. This could be events, types of businesses you might want to see. Really anything that you can think of would be really helpful feedback. So far we've got streetcar, pedestrian streets, transit to bring people in, lean on history and identity, historic preservation, better signage. Mind you, I'm reading these randomly, so I really am not favoring any particular answers. Just trying to keep us in the know as you're all thinking and typing in answers. Free days at museums, a grocery store, a funded marketing plan to better define our city to guests, better wayfinding, more street markets and vendors. So it sounds like a lot of what folks are yearning for is more vibrancy. So that's, I think, something that certainly we can work on, but also, amenities for, day-to-day enjoyment, including for residents to make living in downtown more enjoyable, but also for visitors to have more reason to come. So this is great. More diversified restaurants, improved public transit, hospitality training, more things to do outside, not during the summertime, which is a great thing to point out, because certainly in Milwaukee, we need to embrace all 4 seasons, more unique destinations, better landscaping, ice cream, I love that. Ice cream happens to be one of my favorite things ever. So we have 117 voters right now. I am going to give us 30 more seconds. So if you haven't had a chance to vote, please do get some of those additional ideas in there. Public art by local artists, bikeability, more attractive sidewalks, identify streets needing improvements, bring back community policing so people feel safe, a defined theater district, benches, simple as that. More public market ideas, but different types of commerce. Center plaza or park, suggested routes to visit on foot, accessibility of public right-of-way, livable streets. So it looks like we've got about 5 seconds left. So if you're a quick typer, maybe you can get another one in. Build the Bell R. Phillips Plaza idea with streetcar extensions, more outdoor music areas for small crowds, plazas. Fix the many street lights that are out. So yeah, a lot of really great feedback here. Sensitive infill. Great. So the next question is, what would make living in downtown more attractive? So special shout out to those of you here with us tonight that do live in downtown. If you don't live in downtown, what would it be what would make living in downtown attractive to you? Or what can you imagine being helpful to you when you think about neighborhoods and amenities? So better public schools, fewer bars, more bike paths, a comprehensive transit system, a decent grocery store, dog park, which there is a dog park coming to downtown soon. And certainly the bid has been a driving force in that, which is great. Safety, vibrant colors and art, more grocery options, schools, better schools again, safety, convenience stores, more condo options, grocery store again. So definitely a need if that keeps popping up. Wider sidewalks, longer hours of operations. Looks like we've had about 91 voters here. So I'm going to start a countdown for 30 seconds. So if you haven't had a chance to get some things in, please do. Grocery store again. If it were cleaner and more police presence, better funding sources to maintain and grow downtown. Parks and plazas in between the buildings, more affordable, more family friendly. Food cart pods like in Portland. More bike lanes. Someone is specifically calling on Trader Joe's. So if Trader Joe's is here, know that we need you. Restaurants, reduced 2 a.m. bars, farmers markets, more trees, a 15-minute city, more walkable, more transit, and do more business on foot, not needing a car. Ownership opportunities, streetcar extended, more lighting, farmers markets again, and safe schools. With that, we'll move on to the next question. Thank you again for all of your feedback. This is really great. What would make downtown more walkable, bikeable, and transit friendly? More protected bike lanes, safe bike lanes, duh, yeah. Streetcar extensions, more streetcars, better funding sources, no I-94 expansion. Of course, there is a public meeting about that this evening. There was one last night as well. Bus signal priority, wider sidewalks, easier access to everyone, less surface parking lots, better street lighting, extension of the streetcar, fewer buses. It's interesting. I haven't heard that one yet. Protected bike lanes, better snow and ice removal, and more greenery, more parks, narrow the roadways. Use NACDO, which is a specific organization that does guidelines and best practices for streets. So they're encouraging us to use those and best practices, or Dutch style street design with fully separated protected bike lanes, electric buses and bus only lanes, no cars, simple as that. Attention to street and sidewalk, waiting for it to scroll. Ciclovia in downtown. Attention to street and sidewalk repair, thank you. Safer bike lanes. So this is great. We have a lot of feedback on this one. I think I'm going to start the 30-second timeline. So countdown, excuse me. So if you haven't had a chance to get something in there, now is a good time. Expanded streetcar, dedicated right-of-way for streetcars, wider sidewalks. All walks should be 15 feet minimum, someone shares. Reduce traffic lanes, narrow the lanes, and more streetcar. Protected bike lanes, slower cars, slower speed limits, but certainly streets that would be designed to slow cars could really make downtown more walkable. True, more boulevards and less driving and parking lanes. Less bad drivers. Certainly, as you know, we are having it is an epidemic of reckless driving in Milwaukee. So certainly it's, I think, very much on our minds of what we can do as a community to improve circumstances and safety. Better protection for pedestrians. Bike lanes must be separated, connecting the nodes and requiring bike racks on every block. So that's really great. We got 181 responses. So thank you so much for all of that feedback. That's really helpful. The next question is, what would make downtown more socially, economically, and or environmentally sustainable? So moving forward, we are certainly very dedicated to sustainability and resiliency, and we really want to take this time now during this planning process to think more and more about it, given climate change, but also, as we've seen living in this pandemic, resiliency is really important to think about how we can be flexible in the future and you know, be responsive to what the world has before us, because we don't always have control over it. And we as a region want to be strong and continue building on our strengths no matter what happens. So I think this, for instance, this pandemic has really shown us that, you know, sticking together as a community and really supporting our business community is absolutely critical. But there's just so many things that we can do and think about, right? Whether it be about green infrastructure and thinking about just greening the city, or thinking about our transportation choices. So we appreciate all your answers here, and I'm going to start digging in. So it looks like more trees, removing 794, attract people to parks, protected bike lanes, and replacing surface parking lots with walkable developments. Transit that reaches into nearby neighborhoods to bring people from all over here, everybody's neighborhood. More green space and green infrastructure, more streetcar routes, more police, better predictability for businesses, a 0.5% sales tax, which is certainly a conversation that is unfolding as we speak. Downtown composting options, penalize single occupant auto driving, stop relying on 17% of our property taxes as a sole source of funding. Certainly diversifying funding is a very critical topic if we want to become more resilient. Sidewalk bioswales, more mass timber construction, go all in on transit. Okay, great. Well, we've got a ton of feedback. I think we've got 125 responses. I'm going to give us 30 more seconds to respond to this. We need a lot of guidance in this department. I think we want feedback everywhere, but there's so many unknowns that we really want to think creatively about our future and flexibly, so that we are always kind of poised well to respond with what's before us. Tax credits for green buildings, more transit, ditch the car, less police, small grants for related projects. The sewer smell can be unbearable. Smaller plat sizes. Remember that being mentioned earlier. More trash and recycling receptacles. Improved public transit. Historic preservation of existing buildings rather than always rather than replacing them. Make electric recharging ubiquitous. Excuse me. More green everywhere. More bus rapid transit routes to and through downtown and expansion of the streetcar, maintaining public lakefront access, fewer cars, build on the all ages and abilities bike network, encourage small scale developers. There's so much here. This is really exciting. I think we will move to the next question given that voting is closed. What big idea would you like to see implemented in downtown by 2040? So the one big idea, more streetcars, expansion of the hop, protected bike lanes, pedestrian only streets, expanded streetcar. Boy, there's a lot of transportation related comments here, which is very interesting. And I think just shows that that is high in demand and of great interest of the community that's here tonight. An inclusive vision for all, skywalks with bike lanes, a city where pedestrians are prioritized, streets for people, no more empty downtown lots, and more usable public transportation, accessing sales tax for funding. I think for this one, I'm going to give it one more minute. We're a little early yet, but just to, so you all know how much time you have to respond. The Milwaukee Central Park project, create a new no car area like Amsterdam. The hop, make downtown pedestrian friendly. So again, as you see, there's a lot of transportation related comments here, which is really interesting. Great parks, first solar powered city. That is very visionary. So that's great to see that we are thinking big on all scales, right? And I think that that's what's absolutely critical is what is visionary for us to implement in the next year or 2 or 3, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 and even beyond. I think it's really going to be a critical time for us to think really thoughtfully and push ourselves. Finishing the Lakefront Gateway project, bubbler stations everywhere, removal of freeways. And as many of you may know, Milwaukee is kind of a national leader in doing that, given that we tore down the Park East. Minority businesses thriving, streets without cars, and cars going less than 20 miles per hour where they do exist. Connect Old World Third, which is now King Drive, or soon to be officially on King Day, from Wisconsin to Deer District, a viable stretch without the dead zone. And I'm missing the rest, I'm sorry. No gas vehicles, blocks of micro business storefronts. So it looks like we got about 118 votes there. So that's really fantastic. Thank you. I think moving to the next question, we are wrapping up, but we will have a Q&A. We just want to learn more about the audience as we're working on this project. We want to make sure that we are reaching many from every walk of life, that truly we have diverse participation. So we are asking that if you're comfortable and able to share your race and ethnicity, that would be helpful for us so that we can identify if we are missing folks and be able to do some targeted outreach as a result. So with that, I'm going to give us 10 more seconds to respond to that question. If you haven't had a chance to yet, this is really helpful for us because we really are prioritizing equity as part of this project and feel strongly that we want to make sure that there's space in this planning process for all. And historically, that hasn't been the case in planning. And so we really need to ensure that is the case. The next question is, what is your age? And this again is just for us to have a good understanding of who's here tonight. And, you know, we may need to target some other age groups. We realize that certainly there can be a digital divide. And so virtual meetings may just naturally leave out some folks. And so we want to make sure that we find ways to reach those folks as well, including youth. Everyone's voices really matter. So give it about 10 more seconds here. Thank you for providing this information. After this slide, we are going to move into Q&A. The program is nearing completion. We are only scheduled till 8 p.m. So we'll just take a few questions if there are any. Let's see, and so far we don't have any questions, which I have a hard time believing. So I'm assuming some are coming. This is also a new tool to us, so I do apologize in advance if it's because we're having technical difficulty. And yes, it looks like there are some red pen marks on screen, but I am not entirely sure how we can correct that. So I apologize for any inconvenience. So we do have a few questions in now, which is great. Thank you so much. One is, will we get to see the results of tonight's survey? And yes, we can post this. What's great is this tool does create a PDF that we will be posting online for you to take a look at. Just know it's going to be very long because there's so much feedback, but it will be made available to all of you, just as the social pinpoint feedback is. Let's see, we have a question here on who speaks for those without a voice in this process? And that is a really important question to ask. I might call on Beth to help support the answering of this question if she's available. But certainly, this is something that we all as staff and as leaders, and we hope that you as well will be mindful of, because this is really critical to make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible, but also just as community members, not only thinking about our personal needs, but the greater needs of our community. And I'm assuming Beth has some really great things to say on this topic as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that question was actually asked, because it's a question we've asked ourselves. I don't know if the person who asked that question was on at the beginning of the program, but one of the things that we talked about was how when we were all in the room with the aldermen and with the mayor's office and with DCD team, Commissioner Crump, and I know representatives from our Downtown Business Improvement District, repeatedly the number one thing that came to the top of our objectives with this was everyone must be able to have a voice in this. And so we are hoping with the efforts and the resources we're putting into community engagement that we are reaching a very broad audience. And that's why we're having forums like these, where we're asking you, if you are aware of people who are not getting information relative to this public process, to please help them connect. And we're trying to make it as easy as we can. ConnectingMKE.com is where you can go. You can get background information. You can understand why we are here today, what brought us here, what have we achieved in the past, and what are we hoping to accomplish with these exercises of engaging public. But I think the other tool that I find to be really getting a lot of positive feedback from people in the community who haven't typically participated in an area plan has really been that social pinpoint, which again, if you go to connectingmke.com, but more importantly than that, if people are not on our social platforms, they can sign up for our monthly newsletter update, and please, representatives at the BID and representatives at the Department of City Development are available. Janine Edwards at P3 is amazing. Brigitta, who is our chair of our community council, is being extraordinarily thoughtful about how we can be sure we're communicating as far and wide as possible. And then with those monthly updates, we're asking anybody, if you are aware of somebody who doesn't have the ability or the wherewithal to sign up for the newsletters, just give us their names and their contact info. We aren't doing mailings, unfortunately, but certainly if you know of people who don't have access to computers. We're working very closely with our libraries in distributing information about this plan. Access to computers are available in the libraries. And then, of course, if you know people that don't have computers or the ability to go to libraries, please, we're asking you, take some time to spend time with them on Social Pinpoint and on the website. We need to do this together. So thank you for asking that question. I hope that everybody on this meeting is willing to be an ambassador for this, referencing earlier again, that cities have the capability of providing something for everybody. Are those cities where everybody plays a role in developing those plans. And that's, great wise words from Jane Jacobs. So again, thank you for the opportunity. And I will tell you, we are so open to constructive criticism and feedback on how we can do things better, how we can do things differently. We are committed to making space to really have the best approach so that people who haven't had a voice in the past will feel not only do they have a voice, but their voice is heard and that their initiatives will in fact be implemented. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. We do have a good number of questions rolling in now. And just looking at the time, I do apologize because we won't have time to address them all this evening. But we hope that we will address them fully throughout the process. And we will be adding kind of a Q&A, facts and questions section to Social Pinpoint where we can try and address many, if not all of these questions there. Just to quickly highlight a few, there were a few folks that joined us late, and so we just really appreciate your time in joining us. There was a question about whether or not this is recorded, and the answer is yes. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted online. And so it might take a couple days, but by next week, it will be available for you to review, and it'll be easily found on our engagement platform, or if you go to connectingmke.com. There's some other good questions here about how we will turn this plan into action, and really what's so exciting is this plan is really kind of meant to be our action plan, right? It is meant to guide private and public investments, as well as resource development and programs. So we're really excited about this partnership with the Business Improvement District, but also this collaborative planning process with all of you so that hopefully by the end, all of us as community members feel like we have a part in implementing this. So again, we will kind of circle back and, make effort to answer all of your questions. Thank you for those. And with that, I think we will kind of wrap up with our next steps. So Beth, I will be sharing my screen here momentarily, so then you can kind of share that with the group.
Yeah, and just while you're doing that, Tanya, that really great question of how we're going to turn this plan into actions. Another great question. I look at the front end of this plan and how important it was for us to be focused on equity and inclusivity and community engagement beyond the downtown community. And again, that was driven so hard by our board of directors, our downtown property owners and stakeholders, and what a pleasure it is for working for such a phenomenal group of leaders who understand the significance of connection to the entire community and the value not only that downtown brings, but that the city of Milwaukee brings to the region and to the state. But then also our board of directors at Milwaukee Downtown Bid 21 have made it very clear, and they've stated this, that this downtown plan, this area plan, will absolutely be a guiding tool for us. And even for those elements that don't fall into land use and planning, other items that come up that we need to have conversations about, we have every intention of addressing to the best of our ability. And I can assure you, we have a phenomenal group of stakeholders and leaders that are really committed not only to downtown, but our entire city. Our intention is at the completion of this plan at Q4 of 2022, that our board going into 2023 will take those those work plans that our community has developed and look at ways in which we can implement them and look at resources for them. It's got to be beyond the bid, though. This has got to be a community-wide and a city-wide plan that we're all going to own a little piece of. So thank you for that question. Now moving along, it's 8 on the head. So of course, our first meeting was tonight. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the great work of our community council members for your leadership in getting us here tonight. Thank you for our advisory group. Thank you to the entire public. Please keep engaging. Please, connectingmke.com. Social Pinpoint is a great way for you to have anonymous feedback. Utilize it. It's going to be really wonderful. Looking forward to working with all of you as we move forward. And again, please sign up for those updates, participate, take pictures, send us your messages, and keep sharing. And again, we as a team are happy to hear back from you if you've got ideas and suggestions on how we can make this bigger, better, and more inclusive. So wishing all of you good health and a phenomenal holiday season. And thank you so much for your precious time. We are more than grateful for that.